Yes, hello, welcome back. And this is part 3 of chapter 2. So, last time we were discussing about the 16 Mahajanpads. So, now we are moving on towards one of the Mahajanpads which turned out to be more powerful than all the rest. So, this is Magad. So, between the 6th and the 14th centuries, Magad turned out to be the most powerful and the strongest Mahajanpad among all the 16. So the reasons why Magad turned out to be the most powerful are specifically given. So first important reason is that it is situated in an area which is agriculturally extremely productive, because Magad is, you can consider it as the present day southern Bihar and some part of Jharkhand. So you know this is an area which is the territorial place for Ganga. So on both the banks of river Ganga, there is a very fertile soil available. So this makes it very rich in fertility, and therefore it is agriculturally extremely productive. So obviously, because of the surplus production, Magad must have achieved a lot of riches by selling the products in the international market. Second reason why Magad became most powerful is because of the availability of iron mines, especially in Jharkhand. Even nowadays, when you read about the richest iron states in India, Jharkhand is one of them. So the availability of iron made Magad more powerful, because iron was used in making of the weapons or other utensils. So it made it extremely beneficial for the Magadhan territory. Third important point is the availability of elephants. So you know that this entire area is famous for its dense forests. So these forests had huge elephants, so which could be inducted in the army, and these could be used in the various wars by the Magad. Next point is the availability of Ganga and its tributaries. So now we know that Ganga is mostly a navigable river, and transportation by river is the most cheapest mode of transport. So this also added advantage to Magad, because it could easily transport its materials, import or export, in and out through the help of the transportation provided by the Ganga and its tributaries. Next important point, so here many of the Buddhist and Jain writers have attributed this power to the various policies of individual rulers. So now rulers like Bimbisar, Ajat Shatru, etc., they were very famous because of their strong policies, because they had an iron hand to suppress the various kinds of revolts going on in their territory. So this again can be one of the reasons why Magad became extremely powerful, because it had strong leaders, people who could take decisive decisions during their time. Next important point is the capitals of Magad. So first important, the oldest capital of Magad is Rajgraha, which is a Prakrit name, which means Raj ka graha means the place where the ruler rules. So this Rajgraha is famous because it was a fortified capital, fortified because from all the sides it has been surrounded by mountains, especially the next capital, which is Patliputra. So the oldest capital was Rajgriha, then the new capital became Patliputra. So both these capitals were fortified settlements, meaning their locations were so strategic that it could not have been easy for any other ruler to defeat or penetrate these two capitals and defeat the ruler. So this again, the choice of capital by the kings of Magad also made it extremely powerful, because no one could easily penetrate or defeat the rulers of Magad. So next important topic is the early empire. Now the Magad, it became all powerful, or it reached, you can say, its peak during the time of the Mauryan dynasty. Now the Mauryan dynasty or empire was established by a person called Chandragupta Maurya. You must have heard about him many a times. There are so many TV shows also attributed to this personality. So he founded the empire in 321 BCE. Please do not get confused between BCE and CE. We are still talking about BCE, that is before Common Era. So here he had established the Mauryan Empire in 321 BCE, and he extended the Mauryan Empire also in areas of Afghanistan and Baluchistan. Now, Baluchistan is a place in present day Pakistan. You can say that it was the northwestern part of Indian subcontinent, while Ashok, who was the grandson of Chandragupta Maurya. Now, Chandragupta Maurya's son is Bindusar, and after Bindusar came his son Ashok. So, Ashok again is considered to be one of the most successful rulers ever for the Indian subcontinent. So he again is attributed for the wars like the famous War of Kaling. There is also one of the famous movies where Shah Rukh Khan have starred in that movie. So Kaling is an area in Odisha, and there are several texts which has indicated that after this war, Ashok had realized that how futile are wars, and therefore he had shed all the wars and given up on weapons, etc. So Ashok again was an extremely powerful ruler, and because of his iron hand policy, he had maintained a very strong control and expanded his empire. Now, finding out about the Mauryas. Now, what are the sources of information? Now, in every chapter, like in Indus Valley Civilization, we do not have particular written texts because there was no such material available, especially whatever is available, we have not been able to decipher it because it was pictographic in nature. But here, during the time of Mauryan Empire, we have a abundance of written texts available. So you can say the sources of information first is obviously the archaeological remains, like for example the sculptures or whatever the inscriptions were left. Second is important is the texts which have been left behind by the contemporary writers, like the writers who existed during the time of the existence of Mauryan Empire. So first such important writer is Megasthenes. Now Megasthenes came as an ambassador to the court of Chandragupta Maurya. He was sent by a Greek ruler called Seleucus Nicator. So this Megasthenes, he left an account of the Mauryan Empire, and the book is known as Indica. Second important writer is Kautilya or Chanakya. You must have again read about him. He is famous for his book called Arthashastra. So Arthashastra is one of the most important source of information about the society, polity, etc., economy of whatever prevailed during the Mauryan Empire. So he acted as a minister during the time of Chandragupta Maurya, and it has been said that Chandragupta Maurya became a ruler only because of the strategies and the brains of Chanakya, because he was extremely angry with the previous ruler, which was Dhananand. So because of his rivalry with Dhananand, he prepared Chandragupta Maurya to become a ruler and take the empire into his own hands. So this Kautilya Chanakya is famous for his book called Arthashastra, and he worked as a minister for Chandragupta. Now, besides all these writers, there are various Buddhist, Jain, and Puranic accounts which are left behind. So these Sanskrit works also are one of the sources of information. Apart from that, the most important is the inscriptions of Ashok. Now, if it is ever asked that who was the first ruler who directly talked to the people, the common masses, you should give the name of Ashok, because he directly conversed with the people, the common masses of his land, with the help of the writings or the inscriptions on the rocks and pillars, which are regarded one of the most valuable accounts of information. So Ashok was the first ruler who inscribed messages to his subjects and officials on stone surfaces, and he had also given information about Dhamma. Now we'll read about it in the coming. So now Dhamma, you can say that Dhamma is basically a code of conduct, that is a set of moral principles which were set down by Ashoka so that everyone could follow them. The main strategy behind introducing such a code of conduct was that to bring everybody together, to unify them morally so that they can all act together. It is basically a set of principles which states that there has to be generosity towards Brahmins and towards elders, towards slaves. The Brahmins should be respected. one should treat the servants and the slaves more kindly. There should be respect for religions. So these are the very common principles which we even try to propagate today in order to bring brotherhood and feeling of unity among the people. So this is the same kind of code of conduct that was initiated by Ashok, so that he can bring unity in a land which was extremely diverse. Every different region is different from each other. So this is the reason why Ashok had introduced this code of conduct. Now second topic is the administration of the empire, how Ashok had administered such a vast empire. So first important point here is that there are five major political centers in the empire. Like for example, in present day India, every state has its own capital, and these capitals serves as the center of that particular state. So imagine the entire modern empire to be divided into five provinces, and all these five provinces had a separate capital. These capitals are Patliputra, Takshashila, Ujjaini, Toshali, and Swarnagiri. So the entire empire was divided into five provinces. So we have taken a lot of time in this part, so let's carry on with the same topic in the next part. So stay tuned.